The story kicks off with a narration about the weird, dormant power inside the planet Astral Power introduced by two characters. This astral power was so insane that people straight up feared anyone who had it, labeling them as witches or mages, and oppressing them in the Empire. The Empire's this so-called paradise, sitting right next to the nebulous sovereignty, where the witches live. These two nations have been stuck in an endless war, but the two main characters are dead set on ending it and creating a world where no one gets persecuted. And just like that, the crusade to change everything begins. Cut to a scene from a year earlier in the Empire. Ichika, a saint disciple, busts a witch out of prison, leaving her shook. He hooks her up with some cash and snacks to tide her over. Fast forward a year, and Ichika's getting sprung from jail by the 8 great apostles. One of them lays it out. Ichika was the youngest ever to earn the saint disciple title, but he got demoted and locked up after helping that witch escape. Yeah, major crime, especially since their nation's been at war with witches for a century. But now, he's got a shot to make things right. His mission? Take down the baddest witch of them all, the purebred Ice Calamity Witch, a direct descendant of the Grand Witch Nebulous. The apostle reminds him that the Grand Witch once turned the Empire into a flaming wreck, and her bloodline's packing serious astral power. Ichika gets back up for the job and requests his old crew. Meanwhile, a dude named Jin hits up Nene, a waitress, at her restaurant. He drops the news that Ichika's out and they're rolling out on a mission at midnight. Nene's confused, firing off half questions. Ichika's already at the meetup spot, staring at the stars, first time in a year he's seen him. Jin shows up, and Ichika thanks him for rounding up the squad, but Jin brushes it off, saying he's used to Ichika's last-minute chaos. Nene screeches in, full speed, and tackles Ichika in a hug, stoked he's free. She spots their captain, trips on her way over, and the captain's all hyped, because their squad, Special Defense for Humankind, 3rd Division, Unit N70's finally back together after a year. Nene asks what the mission's about, and Jin fills her in. Ichika tells the captain his release hinges on this job. She says the apostles set him up because the Ice Calamity Witch is no joke. Just wrecked the northern front line in Yubel and walked away untouched. Jin agrees but points out they don't know Iska's full strength. Nene backs him up, saying since Ichika got locked up right after becoming a saint disciple, their enemies won't see him coming. The captain double checks if he's really down for this, and Ichika's all in this is his shot to end the pointless war between the Empire and Nebulous's sovereignty. Ichika and the captain are standing in front of a massive weapon reactor. She points out that the reactor is fresh out of the box, but the place is barely guarded. Nene butts in, all hyped up, and says she ran into the CO, who told her the reactor's not finished because the astral mages have been hitting them hard lately. Their crew's too busy holding the line to finish the job. Nene starts geeking out about the reactor's specs, but Jin cuts her off. He lays it out. This is the same old story that's been going on for a century. The Empire builds a reactor, the sovereignty smashes it, and the Emperor just cranks out more weapons. He says the war's running on pure rage now, and no one's gonna talk their way out of it. Somebody's gotta end it by force, even if it means being the bad guy. They're cruising through the woods when their ride gets ambushed by astral mages. Jin yells at everyone to bail, and the car flips right after. He figures there's a top-tier mage in the area who busted through their defenses. Nene gets a distress call the Nelka Comms team needs backup. Jin says they can't stick around because they've got a sneak attack to pull off. Out of nowhere, mages blast Jin with astral flames, but Ichika dives in and slices through the fire, leaving the mages shook. Jin takes a shot at him, but they freeze his bullets mid-air wing astral power. More mages pop up from underground, and Jin realizes why they couldn't sense him earlier. They were tunneling. Ichika says the spell they're using is big league, meaning there's a heavy hitter calling the shots. Someone asks how they're so chill about this, and Jin says they saw it coming. He checks if Ichika can handle all of them, but Ichika admits it'll be tough without his full instincts back. He asks Nene for backup, and she lights up the place with anti-astral flares, setting off a huge explosion. Ichika cuts through every attack, leaving one mage gaping at his strength, while Jin takes out his targets. Then the ground shakes, and a freaking golem bursts out. A maid-uniformed girl shows up, impressed they took out her squad before she even arrived. She orders the golem to attack, but Ichika blocks it and tells the captain to bail with Jin and Nenahale handle this. Ichika slashes through the golem's strike, and the girl asks if he's a saint's disciple. He says he'll only talk if she spills the Ice Calamity Witch's location, but she refuses. They throw down, and Ichika pins her. Then the Ice Calamity Witch rolls up, freezing everything solid. She checks on Rin, the maid girl, who thanks her for buying time. Ichika realizes her real goal was icing the reactor. He tells her he's here to bag her. She fires back, asking if he even knows who he's messing with, and warns him to back off unless he wants pain colder than death. They exchange names, then Ichika breaks her defenses, powers up his astral swords, and sends Alice stumbling back, shocking Rin. Alice tells Ichika to run, but he refuses and orders her to retreat instead. Alice snaps that she won't stop till the Empire's crushed and the world's united. Mid-rant, her foot slips on the mountain edge, and she almost eats it, but Ichika zooms in and catches her. He asks if she's okay, and they lock eyes for a sec before she snaps out of it and shoves him off. Alice tells Rin to fall back, and a giant bird swoops in. As she dips, she warns Ichika, "Next time, you won't catch me." The captain and Nine tackle, hug him, freaking out, while Jin mutters that the rumors about Alice being a monster mage were dead on. He adds that the ice reached their frontline meetup spot. Later, Alice is soaking in the tub, replaying the Ichika showdown in her head. She bolts upright while Rin dresses her and decides she needs a distraction, maybe hit the opera house. At the show, Alice bawls her eyes out over the story, soaking her handkerchief. Some guy hands her a fresh one, and she thanks him. After the curtain falls, she offers to pay him back, but he's like, "Nah, it's cheap." Then the lights flip on, and plot twist, it's Ichika. They both freeze, staring like deer in headlights. The episode kicks off with Iska's perspective on what went down at the theater. He's lying in bed, wide awake, his mind racing after his run-in with Alice. He tells his captain he can't sleep, and she figures he's messed up over the whole thing. To shake him out of it, she drags him to her place, which is packed with stuffed animals. She's like, "Bro, staying holed up ain't helping," and hands him a ticket to this annual opera show in the neutral city, telling him to hit it up the next day. Next day, Nene drives him to the show. On the way, Ichika zones out and dreams about his master handing him the astral swords, saying, "Don't ever let these go, they're the world's only shot at getting back on track." Nine snaps him out of it when they roll up to the neutral city, and he tells her about the dream. He mentions it's been ages since he dreamed about the master, and this one was all about some hardcore training session with Jin. Inside the theater, Ichika ends up sitting behind some girl who's bawling her eyes out. He can't focus because she's so emotional, so he listens in and hands her his handkerchief. After the show, she offers to pay him back for it, but when the lights flip on, he realizes it's Alice. She's pissed, accusing him of stalking her, and goes to throw hands until Rin stops her, reminding her they can't start drama in the neutral city. Alice backs off, grumbling that the whole city would come after her if she messed with him. She keeps throwing shade, but Rin tells her to chill. Alice finally dips, giving Ichika a quick bow out of habit. Outside, Alice vents about the encounter, wondering if Iska's tailing them. Rin confirms he didn't move till they left and suggests hitting up a famous pasta spot to cool off. They get there, but the waitress says they're booked solid. Alice asks if they can share a table, and Bumiska walks in as the guy who reserved it. Rin accuses him of setting them up, but he's like, "Nah, I just made a reservation." Alice admits he's got a point, but warns Rin not to let her guard down. They end up sitting together, scanning the menu, and weirdly ordering the same stuff. The waitress points out how in sync they are, but they brush it off. While eating, they actually vibe over their pasta picks, realizing they've got the same taste. Rin snaps Alice back to reality, and they both apologize for getting sidetracked. Later, Rin tells Alice to keep the Ichika run-in on the down low since, even though they didn't throw hands, he's still the enemy. Alice jokingly blames Rin for making her team up with Ichika after they disagreed about pasta. That night, both Ichika and Alice toss and turn. Ichika finally crashes and dreams he's on a plane with some monster. He goes to attack, but ice magic freezes him and, who's behind it? Alice. He jolts awake. Ichika and his squad are training on the field when their captain, Mizmis, starts complaining about being dehydrated. Jin, being his usual jerk self, tells her to suck it up and keep going. Out of nowhere, someone shoves her from behind. Turns out it's Ryssia, the special defense big shot from Humankind HQ. Ryssia drops the bomb that Mizmis's unit is now under her command for the next mission. Mizmis freaks out, worried Ryssia's strategies will be too brainy for them, but Ryssia reassures her, saying she's checked their records and knows they've got sharp instincts. They chat about random stuff, and then Ryssia calls out Ichika for looking dead tired and hands him a ticket to Viblanc Sally's art show. Meanwhile, Alice visits her mom in the magic room. Her mom brings up Alice's run-in with Ichika, the Imperial Army soldier, who's as strong as the Saint Disciples, the Emperor's elite guards, and the Empire's toughest fighters. That kind of strength means there's gotta be a deeper connection. Mom points upward, explaining how their founder fought off thousands of Imperial soldiers a century ago. Oh, and guess what? The founder's still alive. She also had a twin sister, Nebulus I, their ancestor and the start of the royal bloodline. The Empire never knew about the twin, so they celebrated when Nebulus Ichika, the Grand Witch, kicked the bucket. Mom mentions the founder's bond is weakening, and they first noticed it when Alice fought Ichika in Nelka Forest. Alice is confused, so her mom explains that astral power reacts when its host is in danger. She asks if Alice has any ideas, and Alice remembers the astral power Ichika used. Mom admits there's still a lot they don't know about the founder's power and says she'll have the lab look into it. Until they figure out Ichika's deal, Alice is banned from the battlefield. Later, Alice tells Rin she can't sleep and needs a change of scenery. Rin suggests hitting up the neutral city again, but Alice says no way, she's risking another run-in with Ichika at the opera. Of course, the second she gets to the city, bam, there he is. And guess what? They're both headed to the same art exhibit. Alice is pissed, ranting to herself, but Ichika casually suggests they check it out together. She almost says yes, but remembers they're enemies and storms off. Then she gets lost, whining for Rin until she finally finds her way downtown, only for Ichika to pop up again. This time, he talks her into going to the museum with him, and she caves. Inside, Alice asks why Ichika's into this one painter. He breaks it down, explaining the art's meaning and why it's cool. Alice admits she feels the same way. Later, she buys him a drink as a thanks for the tour gesturino, way she's owing him anything. Ichika tries to refuse, but she won't take no for an answer. She also confirms she's older than him after asking his age. Then, out of nowhere, Ichika dozes off and ends up leaning on her shoulder. Alice panics, reminding him they're enemies and she could totally wreck him right now. Miss whines about the huge pile of stuff Ryo dumped on her. Ryo video calls and gives her a hard time about it, then tells Ichika to haul himself over to the Imperial Senate. When Ichika shows up in front of the big shot apostles, they pat him on the back after checking his report she did good, holding off the Ice Calamity Witch. Ichika shrugs it off, saying he messed up by not protecting the reactor, but the apostles shut that down fast. His job was stopping the witch, and he nailed it. Thanks to him, the Empire's got a shot at taking her down now, and that intel alone is a major win. They're even thinking about reinstating him as a saint disciple. One apostle adds they get his whole peace vibe and says he can chat with the big boss if he gets his rank back, but since he's still public enemy #1 in the Empire, there's a catch. He's gotta bag the Ice Calamity Witch first. Ichika's jaw drops at the new terms. Later that night, he calls Miss to bail on training the next day. He needs to talk to someone in the neutral city. After some back and forth, she caves, but only if she can tag along. Alice is lost in thought about Ichika when Rin barges in, killing the vibe. Rin hands her a file on Ichika, spilling that he used to be a saint disciple but got busted down for saving some astral mage. Alice can't figure out why he'd attack her, and tells Rin to dig up dirt on that mage. Right on cue, her mom walks in, teasing her about being obsessed with an enemy soldier. She lays it on thick how the Empire's full of haters, calling them witches and hunting them down. Crushing the Empire? Top of every astral mage's wish list. Mom pieces out after telling Alice to grab some Imperial intel. Alice calls Rin back and says they're hitting the neutral city tomorrow. Rin freaks like, what if we run into Ichika? Alice smirks, that's the whole point. She wants to see what his deal is herself. Meanwhile, Miss drives Ichika to the neutral city. She needles him about who he's meeting, but Ichika admits it's a total Hail Mary, he's just hoping she'll show. He tells Miss to park at the city gates so they can walk in. They head to their usual spot by the fountain, and bam, Alice is there with Rin. Alice smirks. Guess we really do have a connection. She eyes Miss and asks who she is. Ichika introduces her as his squad captain. Miss whispers, who's the hottie? Alice drops the bomb. Alice Lizzie Lou Nebulous the Ninth, the Ice Calamity Witch. Miss freaks out, but Alice cuts through the chaos and drags them outside to talk by a cliff. Alice stares at the horizon. Look at this place. Peaceful, neutral. Why can't our nations just chill? She turns to Ichika. So why'd you save that astral mage a year ago? He shrugs. She was just a kid with weak powers. The Empire was so obsessed with bagging mages they didn't care. I wasn't about that. Alice calls him out, saying feeling sorry for an astral mage doesn't match up with him trying to attack her in the Nelka forest. Ichika stays quiet for a sec until Rin snaps him out of it, joking if he lost his voice. Ichika explains his reasons aren't contradictory. His goals from a year ago are still the same now. Alice asks what those goals are, and he lays it out. He wants peace talks to stop the war, but the Empire and Nebulous sovereignty won't listen to him. So, he figured snatching a royal from Nebulous as a hostage would shake things up. If their own royalty's in danger, the sovereignty would have to take peace talks seriously. Alice shuts that down fast, saying her mom wouldn't care if she got taken hostage. She adds that peace is a fantasy too many people hate the Empire for negotiations to work. She admits she never thought someone from the Empire would actually fight to end the war, and straight up orders him to work for her. Rin jumps in, saying the palace ladies and her majesty would never go for it, but Alice brushes it off, saying they'll deal with that later. She offers Ichika status if he defects from the Empire. Then, the sky rumbles. Alice is confused. Rin says even her astral powers freaked out, and Ichika tells Miss to fall back. Out of nowhere, the founder bursts through the cracked sky, spotting Ichika's astral swords. Miss panics when Alice IDs her as the founder, and Ichika confirms the Grand Nebulous Witch is still alive. Miss whines to Alice that it's unfair since it's just two of them, but Alice says she's clueless about what's going on. The founder recognizes them as Empire citizens and goes ballistic, accusing them of ruining the planet. Meanwhile, Alice's mom, the Queen, walks into a secret room and realizes the founder's bond is broken. She's thrilled Filled with her power, the Empire's done for. Ichika asks why the Founder's attacking her own descendant. Alice says it's her astral power's auto-defense, but she doesn't know what triggered it. Alice is pissed. She wanted to handle their business without interference, but now the stupid Founder barges in. She begs her to stop, but the Founder lashes out, saying Alice, teaming up with the Empire means she's gotta disappear. Rin jumps in to protect Alice, but gets wrecked. Alice is hysterical until Ichika calms her down, telling her to use her ice astral power to freeze Rin's body, while he tells Miss to get her to a specialist. Alice and Rin call a truce and team up against the Founder, who's going all out. They block some attacks, but Alice nearly gets blown away a few times. Ichika saves her, and together they take the Founder down. Alice sets up ice steps and shields for Ichika, who finishes her off by slicing her wings, sending her back to sleep. After the fight, Ichika turns down Alice's offer to serve her, and she says they're enemies again. He suggests keeping the truce for the day since he's wiped, and Alice agrees. Miss's squad hits up the casino and starts playing card games. Ichika keeps losing, and they figure the machine's rigged, so Miss bolts to grab another one. The crew tries to stop her, but she's not having it, and Nini's like, why are we even here? When Miss gets back, she explains that Ryo clued her in 2 weeks ago. This is their last vacay before their next mission. She's calling the shots, and joint training kicks off next month. Nine's shocked, wondering if the mission's gonna be so dangerous that they're getting this sweet send-off to leave with no regrets. Ichika asks what the mission's about, but Miss says Ryo's keeping it a surprise till next week. Jin tries to chill them out, saying, we'll die when it's our time, mission difficulty doesn't matter, but Miss shuts him down with, wow, super comforting. Ichika asks why Miss picked the casino, and she's like, I'm gonna win big so we can buy a Merkava tank latest model. If things go sideways, we're bouncing in style. Nine's impressed by her wild thinking, and Jin's just glad she didn't drag them here just for fun. Alice and Rin roll into the casino, but Alice insists she's not into gambling. Rin's like, you just here to hit up Neutral City and see that Imperial soldier again? Alice shrugs, sure, but next time I see him, I'm throwing hands. Rin brushes her off, saying, save it for the battlefield, and drags her to a slot machine, walking right past Ichika and Miss. Rin talks her into playing, saying, Lady Luck's gonna bless you. Alice latches onto the word victory, and starts calculating the perfect day to fight Ichika, but Rin snaps her back to the game. Boom, Alice hits the jackpot, and coins go flying everywhere. Rin scrambles to get staff while a crowd forms around Alice. Nene swings by, hyped. No way, you just won the jackpot. We could totally buy the captain's tank with this. Alice hands her a bucket of coins, saying, keep it, I don't need it. Nene thanks her and bolts to show her broke squad. Ichika's like, she's gotta be loaded, and Miss guesses she's an oil tycoon, but Nene's like, nah, she's just crazy pretty. She starts describing her, and Ichika's mind jumps to Alice, but no way, right? On their way out, Alice stops at a fortune teller's booth. She asks about her fate with Ichika, and when they'll meet again. The fortune teller pulls 2 cards and says, the one you're looking for is close. You're tied by a bond no one can break. Alice dips and tells Rin, she said some believable stuff, but no real answers. As they walk off, Ichika and his squad pass by. He hits up the same fortune teller, asks the same thing, and gets the exact same reading. Ryo gets summoned by the big shot apostles who thank her for coming. One asks, you know about the vortex? She's like, yep, the observation team reported it, but the nameless unit's on it. The apostle says they need backup and suggests Iskith Black Steel Gladiator Crosswile's successor would be perfect. Ryo realizes they're asking her to send Miss's squad into the vortex, and they're banking on their friendship to make her the bad guy for no reason. The apostle throws it in her face that she clawed her way to the top by stepping on her co-workers and bosses, so this should be a cakewalk. She caves, saying she'll do it just this once. Ryo video calls Miss's squad while they're sitting around and tells them to scrap whatever they're reading. She's got a new job for them. She says they gotta stop another vortex from forming, like the one that popped up during that witch demon showdown a century ago when astral energy went wild. She drops the bomb that the last vortex spawned the Grand Witch Nebulous, and if the Sovereignty gets their hands on this one, an even stronger witch might show up. With a quick, good luck, she dips. Alice zones out staring at Iska's handkerchief, realizing she forgot to return it. Rin walks in and tells Alice her sister Sisbell sent word about weird astral energy activity, maybe another vortex spotted near Muter Canyon, southwest of the Sovereignty. Oh, and the Empire's already sent troops. Alice is pissed she wasn't looped in, and Rin says the Zoa family's dragging their feet reporting to the Queen on purpose. Alice can't figure out why the Lu, Zoa, and Hydra families are always at each other's throats despite all being royals. They put 2 and 2 together. Zoa's trying to hog the vortex, so Alice decides to check it out herself. They roll up to the mansion, and Alice calls them out for the icy welcome. The masked lord of the house sneaks up behind them, but Rin senses him, and he's impressed by her sharp instincts. Alice demands to know why they're sitting on the vortex intel, and the masked dude claims there's no proof it's even a vortex, just some magna flux. He adds that the Zoa family just left to file their report since it took forever to prep the docks. Alice bails, muttering this convo's a waste of time. Back at camp, Ichika and Miss chat about their witching mission counter report. Mizmis spots her old buddy Noro, and they hug it out before she introduces him to the squad. The nameless commander, some saint disciple of the 8 apostles, lays down the rules and orders them to start searching. Mizmis's team scours the area but comes up empty. Then Noro calls about 3 missing units that never came back from their search. Mizmis tells everyone to fall back to base in case there are new orders, but the commander shuts it down. No rescue squad for 3 units out of 32. Jin and the crew rip into him for ditching their own. Ichika, being ex-military, decides to talk to the commander himself. Ichika walks into the commander's room, and the guy instantly recognizes him as the Empire's so-called traitor. Ichika asks to speak, but the commander blows him off, saying he's not high-ranking enough. Miss barges in, surprising everyone, and offers to speak as captain. She demands to know why they're leaving those soldiers hanging. Ichika fills in the squad, saying the commander ghosted them. Nini jokes, maybe there's some secret OP they're not clued in on. Meanwhile, Rin double-checks if Alice is dead set on hitting the valley. Alice insists, and Rin teases her about what she'll do if she runs into Ichika. Alice snaps that he won't be there. She's going as the Liu family princess. The masked lord shows up and says, "Showtime." Alice checks out the valley with the vortex and realizes it's the real deal, a full-on vortex. The masked lord shows up and Alice calls him out, asking if he's trying to hog the vortex for himself. He explains they just found it and are about to report it to the queen. Another woman walks in and he praises her for perfect timing. He introduces her to Alice as Kissing, his niece, and tells them to bounce so they can protect the vortex. Alice asks if Kissing's even strong enough, and the masked lord's like, heck yeah, she might even outdo Rin. Alice presses him on what he's planning to do with the vortex's power if he's aiming to wreck the Empire. The masked lord admits that's been the dream of every astral mage for a century. Meanwhile, Nine picks up weird astral energy at the Bassinat from the vortex and tips off Mizmis. Mizmis gets a call confirming its astral forces sneaking in, but their orders are to keep hunting the vortex. Nini senses another astral signal nearby, and Mizmis spots a light Nini says is strong and linked to the vortex. Nini jokes HQ might finally give them props for being first to find it. Out of nowhere, Noro and her squad roll up. She asks if they've seen the vortex, and Mizmis says yeah. Noro drops the bomb. Long before they spotted it, the Sovereignty set a trap to bag any Imperial soldiers who found it. She grabs Mizmis as a hostage and flashes her witch mark, along with her crew. Mizmis demands to know what she did with the real Noro, but Noro says she is the real deal raised in the nebulous sovereignty. She starts choking Mizmis with astral power, but the Nameless commander pops in and takes out her teammates. Nameless warns her he's got orders to clear his path, and he knew there was a traitor in their ranks. Noro refuses to get caught, so one of her downed teammates causes a distraction while she bolts. They try to chase her, but she's gone in a flash. Ichika asks the commander if he was really gonna slash the witch while she had Mizmis, but the commander shuts him down, threatening to send him back to prison for mouthing off. Jin butts in, saying they should go after Noro now that they know her location, but the commander tells them to stay on mission. He adds he'll blow up the enemy base once they get back. Back at the Sovereignty's base, Alice points out the vortex is small, only a handful of astral mages could power up from it. The masked lord agrees, saying 1 or 2 mages could drain it dry. A mage reports Noro's back, and they find her with an Imperial soldier in tow. The masked lord praises her work, while Alice and Mizmis recognize each other. Alice freaks, worried Mizmis will spill about her meeting Ichika in the neutral city. Mizmis tries to bring it up, but Rin knocks her out cold. Rin chews out Noro for bringing an Imperial soldier to base, then walks over to Alice. Alice thanks her, and Rin grumbles about Ichika always getting in their way. Alice decides to hit the enemy base and gets the location from Noro. She and Rin hop on a golem, and Alice admits this is her one shot to throw down with Ichika. Ichika and the crew decide to bust their captain out, so they scope out the enemy's base. They figure their own soldiers won't launch a missile for another 2 hours, but bam! A missile slams into the Sovereignty base, coming from their own side. Ichika tells everyone to move fast cause the next one's gonna hit in 20 minutes. They storm the base, and Ichika rushes in to save Mizmis from Noro. Noro tries to blast him with some astral flame, but Ichika slices it with his sword. Then Kissing walks in and wrecks a missile with her thorny astral power, shocking everyone. Noro's impressed, saying she's got the Founder's blood for real. Kissing gets orders to wipe out the Imperial soldiers, so she hurls thorns at Ichika. After seeing what she's capable of, he decides to fight back. She attacks with her astral thorns, but he blocks him. Kissing's surprised he can defend against her. She cranks up the destruction, even remodels a missile to take him out. Meanwhile, Alice and Rin roll up to the Empire's base, only to find it empty. Rin senses the Nameless commander and saves Alice from an ambush. He compliments her sharp instincts. Alice asks if she can take her anger out on him for hurting Rin and losing someone she's been hunting for. They clash, and the commander blocks her moves, even turning her attacks back on her. She takes a hit, but Rin covers her. The commander taunts her for losing her nerve, but Alice admits she underestimated him as a saint disciple. She decides to go all out and hits the base with her Great Ice Calamity astral power, but he dips before getting frozen. After the fight, they spot an explosion explosion in the vortex and bolt back. Back at Sovereignty's base, Kissing announces her elimination is done after the blast, but Ichika walks out unharmed, smirking, asking who exactly she took out. He calls her out for fighting like she's got a death wish, but she ignores him and launches a dragon made of thorns at him. He blocks it, strikes back, and says she's tough but can't win every time. Kissing goes down, unconscious, while Noro books it. Miss runs to Ichika, but then the masked lord shows up and stabs him. Ichika drops to his knees, demanding to know who the guy is, but the masked lord just tells him to worry about his captain instead. He shoves Miss into the vortex, and Ichika jumps in after her. Alice and Rin show up and dive into the vortex to save them. Alice yells at Ichika, asking where he's been. She went looking for him at the Empire base, cause the fortune teller said he'd be nearby. She offers to save him if he promises to fight her later. He agrees, and she grabs his hand, using her powers to pull them up. But the astral energy goes wild, ripping them apart. Alice lands back on the cliff, pissed at the astral spirit for messing things up when she finally found him. Ichika and Miss land by their tank. He fills in Jin and Nene on what went down, wonders how he survived the vortex, and Ichika just stares at a gem in his hand, muttering, "I owe Alice one." Alice is lost in thought about her time with Ichika in the vortex, but Rin shows up and snaps her out of it. Alice quickly denies she was thinking about him, but Rin sees right through her. They decide to hit up the neutral city to find Ichika so Alice can finally have her big showdown with him. She thanks Rin for being cool about it. Meanwhile, Miss apologizes to the squad, especially Ichika, for putting his life on the line. Ichika brushes it off, saying he's good, but then Miss feels something weird in her hand and grips it tight. Risha bursts into the boardroom and drops the bombshell. Their next mission is to infiltrate the nebulous sovereignty and bag the queen. Ichika and Jin call BS, saying it's impossible. Rizia just smirks and says they can pull it off because they're that good. Jin asks for the game plan, and Neni chimes in about the astral power trials. Rizia gives her props for bringing it up. Apparently, the sovereignty uses an astral crest for their trials, and anyone without one is instantly pegged as a spy. But Ricia's got a workaround, which she'll spill in 3 days once prep is done. Back in the city square, Alice and Rin are posted up, waiting for Ichika. Rin hands Alice an umbrella, and points out they've been there for 3 days with no sign of him. Alice can't figure out why he's MIA since they always bump into each other. Rin says their last meetup was a fluke and hints that Ichika might have bit the dust in the vortex. Alice shuts that down fast, insisting he's alive, and tells Rin to split up and scour the streets. Rin gets real with Alice, saying she's got to focus on becoming the next queen, not some imperial soldier. There are already vultures circling the throne, and Alice needs to rally supporters, not obsess over Ichika. Rin vows to cut that connection for good. Back in the boardroom, Nene wonders what Ricia's cooking up. Jin shrugs hits on them to figure it out. Then Nene notices Miss scratching her shoulder. Jin jokes she got heat rash from sleeping too much, but Miss ain't having it. Nini offers to help and tells her to take off her jacket. When she does, they're floored. Miss has a witch mark on her. Jin figures she picked it up in the vortex, possessed by an astral spirit since she's a perfect host. Ichika lays out her options. Turn herself into the apostles for a lighter sentence, or keep it under wraps and stay their captain. Miss balls, saying she doesn't want to stop being their leader not after they just got back together. Later, Alice crashes for the day, wondering if they need a new approach. Rin suggests giving up the search, but Alice refuses. She flips through her guidebook, trying to guess where Ichika might be. Nene and Jin swing by Ichika's room. He asks about Miss, and they say she's resting. Ichika brings up the crest, and Jin says they gotta hide it if a saint disciple spots it. Miss is toast. After the whole Noro mess, the timing couldn't be worse. Ichika notices the art exhibition card Ricia gave him, and decides to take the captain to the neutral city. They chill at the city square, and Ichika apologizes for dragging her along, since it might look like they're trying to hide her. Miss says she actually feels safer and way less stressed there. Ichika starts thinking about when the Empire will ever be as peaceful as this place. He spills the tea about why the Empire's so scared of people with astral spirits and swears the war's gonna end soon. He promises Miss there'll come a day when she won't have to hide her crest, but until then, they've got her back. Miss gets teary and tells him to cut it out before she full-on cries. She offers to grab them drinks and heads off. Meanwhile, Alice rolls up to the neutral city, wondering when the sovereignty will ever be this chill. Ichika's deep in thought, sitting alone. He mutters that as long as the war's going on, the captain won't be safe. Then he remembers their mission to capture Queen Nebula Sand, how the apostles won't let her go even if they catch her, which will just keep the war raging. Alice spots Ichika but doesn't recognize him at first. She asks if she can sit next to him, and when he says her name, it clicks. She freaks out, stammering about how she's been searching for him for days. Ichika offers his seat, but she refuses, joking that Rin would chew her out. He jokes about standing instead, but she insists they sit together as equals. Alice gushes about how relieved she is he survived the vortex. She asks what he's doing here, and he admits he's got stuff to figure out after everything that went down. Alice presses promises him, saying she can keep a secret, but only from Rin. Ichika calls her bluff, but she keeps trying to sweet-talk him into spilling. Rin shows up and shuts it down. Alice tries to explain herself, but Rin brushes her off and hands them lemon apple juice. Ichika takes one sip and passes out. Alice freaks, but Rin coolly admits she drugged him. She didn't want him getting too cozy with Alice and forgetting the sovereignty's the enemy. Alice argues they're in a neutral zone, but Rin shrugs, saying she didn't expect him to come quietly. Now they've got to take him in. As Rin hoists him up, Miss appears. She sees Ichika limp in their arms and demands to know what they did to him. Alice fires back that he's their enemy, so tough luck. Miss's astral crest flares up, and she lunges, but Alice freezes her in place, shocked by the glow. Back at the Empire, Ryo breaks the news to the Emperor. Ichika's been snatched by the Ice Calamity Witch. Now they've got to figure out their next move. Alice tells Rin to back off her plan to drag Ichika to the Sovereignty, cause he'd get tortured, locked up for life, or straight up executed for being an ex-saint disciple. She adds that if he bolts, the palace will be right on their tails. Rin caves and decides to haul him to the nearest nebulous turf instead. Ryo updates the apostles on the mess, but they brush it off, saying it won't screw up their secret op. Ryo drops the bomb that the Emperor ordered her to shut it down. The apostles call the Emperor wishy-washy and grill Ryo on her next move. She spills that witnesses spotted their car heading toward Alcatraz, the slammer for queen haters. She adds that Salinger, the heretical demon who crossed the old queen, is still rotting in there, and springing him could help the Empire win. The apostles warn that flipping Salinger won't be a cakewalk, but they greenlight her plan. Ryo barges into the boardroom, where Jin, Nene, and Miss are posted up. Miss straight up asks if they're cleared to bust Ichika out, and Ryo's like, yeah. She reminds them they're screwed without an astral crest for the trials, so she whips out a gadget to fake one on their bodies. It'll turn them into witches for a week, just a surface level mark. The gadget zaps concentrated astral energy to stamp the crest onto their skin. Ryo tests it on Nene first. Jin nods at Miss, slaps the crest on her left hand, same spot as her old one, and shows it off. Ryo approves. Looks legit. Jin tags his own legs next. Ryo orders them to storm Alcatraz when they arrive and raise hell. Other units will cause distractions while the rest sneak into the palace to bag Queen Nebulous. Meanwhile, Rin tells Alice they've hit Alcatraz. Alice tells her to head to their hideout. She debates what to do with Ichika, gives him a nudge to wake him up, but he's out cold. She checks him out but snaps out of it when she remembers their enemies. Out of nowhere, a car cuts him off, and their ride swerves. The jolt wakes Ichika, who realizes what's going down. He calls Rin out, but she blames Alice. They roll up to the hideout, and Rin tells him he's Alice's prisoner, now no choice but to follow. Inside, Ichika eyes the room, curious whose pad it is. Jin, Nene, and Miss breeze through checkpoints, flashing their fake crests to prove they're legit. Ryo guides them through the city. Jin points out the place is lousy with prisons, and Ryo confirms that the city's racket is charging folks to lock up violent crooks. They finally reach Ryo's spot, baffled how she got in or why she's there. She waves it off and tells him to hit the all-you-leggin prison tower. That's where Ichika's stashed. Rin tells Ichika they're at the Sovereignty's top royal hangout spot, and they're keeping him there until they figure out what to do with him. She says the whole plan is Alice's idea, which she thinks is risky, and admits she sees Ichika as more of a threat than Alice does. That's why she's setting him up. She cuts herself with a knife, saying it'll make her self-defense story stick. She claims an imperial swordsman like him can't just be watched, he's gotta be locked up, cause he's in the way of Alice's dream to unite the world. Rin keeps swinging at him, but Ichika dodges every hit. Meanwhile, Alice is chilling in her room, trying to decide what to eat for dinner. Pasta comes to mind, and she flashes back to that time at the restaurant with Ichika. She blushes, then snaps out of it, remembering Rin would chew her out for daydreaming. She heads to her room to plan dinner but freaks out when she sees Rin trying to stab Ichika. Ichika points out Alice is right there, but Rin doesn't buy it until Alice taps her shoulder. Alice jokes about Rin having fun and asks if she can join in. Over at the prison, Jin, Nene, and Miss show up and notice it's crawling with guards. Jin says they only got this far thanks to Ryo before she dipped. Miss wonders if Ichika's really locked up, and Jin says he must be otherwise. Why send a saint disciple, unless they've got some other scheme going on? Alice decides to cuff herself to Ichika and keep an eye on him since Rin's already tried to kill him twice. Rin leaves after warning Ichika, but he points out the obvious show. Are they supposed to sleep or use the bathroom like this? Alice realizes he's got a point and yells for Rin to come back. Rin takes over while Alice hops in the shower. Rin starts threatening Ichika like usual, but when Alice comes back, she forgets he's there and walks out naked. She turns away, and Ichika spots the astral crest on her back. Alice, still totally bare, says everything's clear now that he's laid his cards on the table. Ichika and Rin are both mortified, and Ichika tells her to put some clothes on. Elsewhere, Ryo visits the big bad transcendent demon, Salinger, in his max security cell. He asks who she is, and she fires back, asking if she needs an invite to see him. Ryo says the Emperor called Salinger a demon locked up 30 years ago, but he looks young, so she's not sure it's really him. Salinger tells her she's got got some nerve talking to him like that and asks if the Emperor's backing her up, but she says no. He's surprised and asks how she even got in. Ryo explains she came in peacefully because she's got sovereignty citizenship for situations like this. She says they're here to bust him out, they need his help for their invasion, and to take down the queen who locked him up. Salinger calls their revenge plan boring, but he's sick of living underground. Ryo smashes his prison walls, and he agrees to go with her, aiming to become something even greater than a king. Alice walks up to Ichika as he stares out the window at the city. She asks if he can't sleep because the place feels hostile, but he says Nohei actually finds the night view peaceful. Alice points out it's not all peaceful though, since some of those buildings are prisons holding violent criminals. She shows him the one where Salinger, the biggest traitor and most dangerous prisoner, is locked up. She starts explaining how he killed the late queen but cuts herself off, saying Rin can't catch her talking about him. Right on cue, Rin walks in and tells Alice someone's infiltrated their nation and crossed the border. She eyes Ichika, but he brushes it off, saying he's in no shape to pull that off. Rin agrees, but adds that suspicious groups have been spotted in 12 provinces, except the central one, so they've issued a warning could be the Empire's covert ops. The alert includes Alcatraz too. The prison alarm blares, and Mizmis freaks out, thinking they set it off. Jin calms her down, saying it would have gone off way sooner if it was them. Neni hears footsteps and shushes everyone. She and Jin figure it's the prison's emergency squad geared up to handle astral magus so they're not the targets. Mizmis worries Ryo's in trouble and suggests saving her. Then the building shakes, and Ryo calls. She says the rumbling was from a wall getting blown open to access underground, followed by an earth astral spirit blasting a huge hole to the surface. Astral arts are wild, she adds. Mizmis asks where Ichika is, and Ryo admits he's not in prison but a demon's on the loose. She tells them not to get caught and hangs up. Mizmis yells in frustration, but Jin says now's not the time to complain. They prep to escape, and Nini mutters again about Ryo using them as bait. The emergency squad splits up, and Jin realizes they're trapped. He grumbles that Ryo should have given them a heads up 2 minutes ago. Meanwhile, Alice spots the explosion at the Alulegan prison tower and demands to know what's going on. Rin gets a call and fills her in. Explosion. Giant hole, and guards heard a massive roar from Salinger's cell underground. They're trying to reach the emergency team. Alice says the demon can't escape or he'll come for her mom's astral spirit. She orders Rin to get a vehicle ready so she can stop him. Rin warns her it's too dangerous, but Alice insists no one else can handle it. Rin takes off, and Alice lets Ichika know she's headed to the prison. Ichika asks if she can't just fill him in, but she shuts him down, saying he's the enemy though, admitting it would have put him at ease. Alice dips to get changed. When she comes back, she hands him a fresh handkerchief to swap out the one he gave her at the theater. She tells him he can ditch it if he's not feeling it, but she hopes he likes it, then bolts out of the room all flustered. Over at the prison, Jin realizes they can't just waltz downstairs, so he volunteers to be bait while they take out the guards. Nene says she should go since she's the best at dropping enemies, but Jin points out the guards won't even flinch at her. Mizmis steps up, offering to play the part of a busted-out witch since she's got the astral crest. She sprints up to the guards and starts acting all sketchy. They grill her about the explosion, and she plays along, bragging she'll wreck them with her astral power. They open fire, she books it, and they chase her down until they catch her. They announce she's getting the axe, but Nene and Jin roll up behind them and knock him out cold. Mizmis clings to Nene, bawling about how scared she was and how she'd be toast if they'd shown up a second later. Jin gives her props for pulling off her first solid mission. Meanwhile, Ichika's standing around, trying to figure out what the heck's going down in the prison. He hears a phone ring and heads into Alice's room to find his own phone buzzing. He picks up it's Jin, who fills him in on their mess. Ichika's shocked they're in the sovereignty, and explains his own bind. They ask if he can bail, but he says the cuffs make it rough. Then it hits him Alice's handkerchief. He unfolds it and bam, there's the key. He calls himself a dumbass for not catching on sooner. He tells Jin and Nene to hole up in the prison tower so he can meet them. On the way to the prison, Alice's ride gets ambushed by Imperial soldiers. They bail right before the car blows. When they arrive at the prison, chaos is everywhere. Alice's mind is blown how Imperial troops cross the border. Rin says they got played. This isn't just about Salinger's escape. Alice decides to tackle one disaster at a time. She contains the car explosion, and Rin orders the guards to show some respect. Alice takes charge, saying she's acting for the queen, so everyone better listen up. She puts Rin on Salinger duty since she trusts her. Ichika books it toward the prison, wondering what the heck that explosion was about. He reunites with his crew, and Mizmis hugs him, crying and apologizing for being weak. Jin says they gotta bounce before the fire gets worse, but Ichika says nah, he needs 15 minutes and will meet them behind a nearby hotel. He grabs his swords from Mizmis and dashes off. Rin shows up at a cliff and calls out Salinger. He smirks, saying her maid getup doesn't match her vibe. Rin fires back that she won't introduce herself to some lowlife who tried to jack the queen's astral spirit for his twisted schemes. Salinger claims he wasn't stealing, just collecting taxes as the king he is. They keep throwing shade until Rin summons her earth golem, trying to crush him. Shockingly, he walks out unharmed. She hurls more rocks, but he deflects them. Salinger taunts her, saying she's no match because his power's for the elite. Rin accuses him of stealing royal blood. She lunges, but he smacks her down with his powers. As she struggles to get up, he winds up for the final hit until Ichika crashes in out of nowhere. He blocks the strike with his sword and tells Rin he'll save her this once, just cause this guy's Alice's enemy. Rin can't believe Ichika doesn't know about the transcendent demon. Ichika makes her promise to let him and his crew cross the border if she takes the demon down. Rin's left speechless, and Ichika takes that as a yes. Salinger's like, why some Empire dude defending her and fighting me? He doesn't even care about Ichika's answer, says it's meaningless and he's gonna wreck him. He snaps his fingers, and the whole building shakes, throwing Alice off her game while she's trying to save people. Alice sends guards and emergency teams to hunt for Salinger. She's mid-sentence when the nameless commander shows up, bragging that nobody can stop him. Alice fires back. How did nobody assassin like you even get into my country? Nameless clowns her for calling him lowly. She asks if he hit the prison to break Salinger out, but he brushes her off. Focus on what's in front of you, he says, pointing at the burning city tower. Salinger's about to wreck this place like old times. Alice vows to stop him and blasts Nameless with ice magic, but he bolts to the tower roof. Once Salinger's through the prison, my job's done, he says before dipping. Alice spots Salinger facing off with Ichika and Rin. Salinger hurls a fire and ice astral spirit at Ichika. Ichika charges in, swords ready like always, but the flames just get wilder. Salinger taunts him. Your mistake was messing with the balance of fire and ice. Now die. Ichika vanishes in the explosion. Rin's like, so that's why you're collecting astral spirits? Salinger smirks. My goal's to fuse humans with astral spirits. Rin's shook. He adds, only 2 people ever reached that level, including Nebulous, the founder. He dreams of surpassing the whole king thing and hitting that peak. Rin calls him insane, raising her sword. You gotta be stopped. Salinger laughs. You still want to fight after seeing what happened to Ichika? Rin shoots back. Ichika's tougher than you think. My master, Alice, called him her only rival. He even beat Nebulous your idol. Salinger's in denial, but Rin adds, that weak attack wouldn't destroy him. I was just stalling. Salinger moves to finish her until Ichika pops up and slams him back. Salinger's stunned. No way you survived that, Ichika explains. My astral swords are a pair. Black one cuts astral arts, white one copies them. He chases Salinger to the rooftop. Salinger's like, did you freeze yourself to escape the flames? You nuts? Ichika's all, nah, I've got determination. Alice believes in me, I won't let her down. Salinger calls that crap and blasts him with a sandstorm, but Rin blocks it with earth magic. He tries to obliterate Rin for interrupting, but Alice swoops in, shielding her with ice. What are you doing to my Rin? She yells, hugging her. You held on, good job. She looks at Ichika and says she knew he'd have her back. Ichika rushes at Salinger to finish the job, taking him down with no mercy. Salinger backs off, saying fate threw a beast of an opponent his way to keep him from reaching the top as an astral mage, but nothing's gonna stop him for long. After the fight, Rin tells Alice all the prisoners are safe, and Alice breathes a sigh of relief. She asks about Rin's injury, but Rin plays it cool, saying she's fine. Alice pokes the wound, and Rin yelps in pain. Alice tells her to quit acting tough and just admit it hurts. When Rin finally does, Alice calls her a good girl. Alice checks in on the situation, and Rin says things are calm now that the Imperial soldiers have bounced. They've given the Queen a quick rundown, but Alice says she'll handle the full report. Over at the Empire base, another nameless commander shows up, and his buddy jokes that he had a rougher time than expected. The commander pulls off her helmet, turns out it's Ryo. She complains she almost died from heat stroke in that stuffy metal suit and swears she's never wearing that junk again, since she could barely fight for 5 minutes before tapping out. Nameless tells her she doesn't need gimmicks like that, but she says it's all for research. She asks for his update, and he says 2 special ops teams slipped into the province, so they've got eyes on things now. Ryo calls that good news, enough to keep the 8 great apostles happy for days. Nameless asks about reporting to the Emperor, and Ryo says she'll handle it, especially since the Emperor's got a special interest in Ichika. The apostles wish they'd bagged the purebred, but hey, things are still going their way. Ichika and the crew cross back into the Empire, and Miss is just glad they made it out in one piece. They chat about the astral crest Ryo gave them. Ichika zones out, and Nenny asks if he's tired. He says no, but then accidentally mumbles that Alice wore him out. Ichika asks Miss if they've figured out the astral crest thing yet. She groans and tells him not to remind her, then says he better find a fix once they're home. Alice praises Rin for holding her own against Salinger. Rin blushes but admits she couldn't have done it alone. Alice agrees. Then after a pause mentions Ichika's name. Rin scolds her for bringing up that guy, but finally admits he saved her. She says he's got skills, even if he's the enemy, but she won't let Alice say his name out loud in the sovereignty, or she'll snitch to the Queen. Alice teases her for being so uptight. Meanwhile, Alice's sis, Sisbell, eavesdrops with her powers and wonders who this Ichika guy her sister's so hung up on is. Then it hits Hurries, the saint disciple who saved her. She sends a little prayer to the stars, hoping she'll see him again. Ryo strolls into the Emperor's pad and hands him the scoop on Ichika's comeback. The Emperor's like, those apostles are dead set on snatching the purebred, but if you want to call them off, go for it, I don't give a hoot. He drops the bombshell that for the first time in a century, witch princess from the founder's bloodline has fallen hard for an imperial soldier. Sisbell's stuck in a nightmare, scrambling to save her mom but hitting a wall. She jolts awake, shaking like a leaf. Later, she's roaming the palace when she spots her mom schmoozing with guests. Some noble tries to greet her, but Sisbell bolts. Not long after, her butler drops the news. The queen's summoning her. Sisbell shows up, and the queen orders her to hit up Alsamia, a country that's playing both sides. Intel says they're cozying up to the empire, so Sisbell's gotta use her astral spirit to sniff out their true colors. The queen offers backup, but Sisbell's like, nah, I got this, and dips. Their butler then reports that Elatir, the first princess, is back in the crib. Meanwhile, Iska's back from the medbay, and the docs found Zip for injuries. Just some questions about whether he got grilled or roughed up. Nenny says they gotta come back in a week to make sure their astral stamps are gone. Miss is slumped on the table, looking wrecked, and Jin calls her out for dodging reality since her astral crest isn't going anywhere. Some chick named Michaela from HQ's med team barges in, dragging Ryo and yelling about illegal moves, threatening to snitch to the Imperial Senate. She checks their workload and is like, y'all are grinding way too hard, slapping them with a 60-day vacay. Ryo's bummed, but Miss is hyped, asking if they can skip their astral crest checkup. Jin schools her. The leave is to balance the scales for their insane missions, and it's time to deal with the boss's crest. Ichika warns they'll get caught if they slack, so they bounce. Nene's all in, suggesting a legit getaway far from the Empire. Alice is drowning in paperwork when Rin piles on more, making her groan. Rin laughs it off and tells her to take 5. Alice whines about being stuck doing her mom's admin work and craving some action. Rin reminds her she just had some thrills, but Alice zones out until Rin snaps her back. Suddenly, fanfare blares someone's back. Alice guesses it's her big sis, Elatir. Rin's like, she's back already? Must be killing it with the voters. They head out to greet her. Alice runs into Sisbell on the way and tries to chat her up, but Sisbell brushes her off. Rin mentions that Sisbell's been acting like a whole different person lately. She used to be just as lively and nosy as Alice. Alice says she gets it though. The ministers have been going hard about the whole succession thing, and it's been a lot. Honestly, she'd rather bail from the palace and just chill. Rin tells Alice she can't dip Sisbell's heading to the independent nation in the east on Her Majesty's orders to prep for the Empire's invasion, so Alice has to stick around and handle palace duties. Sisbell tells her butler she's good to go, but he double checks if she's really cool with just him as her bodyguard. Sisbell shows him a vision of some ministers scheming about the succession and says he's the only one she trusts. She admits to herself that the nightmare about someone coming after her mom is gonna come true. Some monsters trying to take over the country, and she's the only one who knows, so she's gotta be brave. She looks back and promises her mom she'll protect her, so her mom better stay safe while she's gone. Elatir swings by the masked lord's palace. He mentions it's been ages since he talked to Sisbell, and that Elatir's the only one who visits. They exchange some small talk, and Elatir drops the bomb that someone in the nation's secretly working with the Empire. The masked lord asks if she's got solid proof, and she says they're not full-on pawns yet, but she can't let it slide. She's stuck on what to do, so the masked lord presses her for a name. Miss and her squad roll up to the independent nation of Alsamia. Nene and Miss are hyped, while Ichika tries to keep them in check. Miss tosses Ichika her swim tube to blow up, and they bolt for the beach. Later that night, Jin piggybacks a totally wasted Miss after she goes overboard with beer, even though she's usually a lightweight. Nenny tells Jin to take Miss to the hotel while she grabs dinner at the supermarket with Ichika. Jin agrees and tells them not to get lost. Nenny makes up an excuse to hit the restroom before heading to the store. Ichika turns a corner and nearly crashes into Sisbell, who's glued to a map. He recognizes her as the girl he saved, and they just stare at each other, speechless, until Nene shows up and Sisbell vanishes. Sisbell books it and finally hits the crossroads. Her butler, Schwartz, catches up, panting from searching for her. He begs her not to wander off. He's an old man, after all. Sisbell gushes that she's found her dream knight and needs to talk to him at the hotel. Schwartz is confused, but Sisbell says they'll have to wait till nighttime. Later, Sisbell tracks Ichika down to his hotel room after their run-in. They figure out he's just there for vacation since he's not staying at one of the Empire's special ops affiliated hotels. Meanwhile, the Queen calls Alice into her room. She tells Alice to come with her to Sisbell's room. She wants to check on her as a parent, not as the Queen. The retainers don't have much faith in her as queen, so Sisbell might not win the election, but she's worried about why Sisbell's always holed up in her room all day. The queen walks in and tells Rin to help Alice search. Alice spots a magazine on Sisbell's bed about Ichika's story rescuing a witch and wonders how Sisbell knows him. Sisbell sneaks into Ichika's room with a copied keycard. She tries to talk, but Ichika pins her down, thinking she's an assassin. He asks if the sovereignty sent her, but then he gets a closer look and realizes it's Sisbell. She explains she came to see him and asks if he'll go with her to the sovereignty. Sisbell tells Ichika it's been a year since they met and apologizes for barging into his room. Ichika asks if she's the girl from the prison, and she confirms, thanking him for remembering her. Sisbell begs him to move from his spot because she's not used to being treated like that, and Ichika backs off once he realizes how he's positioned. Alice wonders how Sisbell knows about Ichika, and Rin says she must have been digging into him. Alice freaks out, asking if Sisbell saw them together in the neutral city with her astral spirit. But Rin shuts that down. Sisbell's spirit only works within 300 meters, so no way she spotted them there. Alice then worries if Sisbell overheard their chats, and Rin admits she was careful, but there's a chance Sisbell suspects Alice is tied to the Empire. Sisbell sits down and apologizes again for breaking into Ichika's room. She admits she didn't thank him back then for springing her from prison because she thought it was an Empire trap, but now she wants to make it right. She pulls out a bracelet as a thank you gift, but Ichika turns it down, saying he didn't save her for rewards. Sisbell tells him she read about him in the papers after the incident news spread fast to nearby cities. She adds that Ichika lost his rank because of her, and she wants to help him get it back by vouching for his status and safety. She asks if he'll come with her to the sovereignty. Ichika suddenly remembers Alice saying the same thing and starts questioning who Sisbell really is. Sisbell hides her identity, calling herself a royal palace servant. Ichika asks why she'd pick him when she's tight with the royals and has plenty of people under her. Sisbell snaps that she doesn't trust anyone. She apologizes for losing her cool, then stands to leave, promising to come back and saying she's glad she saw him again. Ichika spots the bracelet she left behind and wonders what to do with it. Rin and Alice report back to the queen. Rin says they found nothing in Sisbell's room but suggests a plan. Let Alice travel to meet Sisbell and talk to her as her sister. The queen's on board and asks if Alice is cool with it. Alice agrees and tells Rin to prep for the trip. Meanwhile, the 8 great apostles bring up the purebreds again. One of them says their ally tipped them off about a purebred princess heading to the independent nation of Alsamia with just one servant. The ally plans to hand her over to the Empire, and the apostles are stoked this could finally be their shot at capturing the purebred, their main goal. Another apostle suggests deploying the object since the witch-hunting weapon can't be traced back to them. Apostle 1 agrees and orders the hunt to start. Mizmis and her squad get ready to barbecue for breakfast. Mizmis won't stop yapping, so Jin tells her to shut it and help out. She volunteers to grill the meat, but Nene says to start with the veggies. They both look to Ichika for the right move, but he's zoned out, lost in thought. Elitir visits the masked lord, who thanks her for coming. She explains that the people trying to reach out to the Empire are her sisters. The masked lord cracks up, saying he never saw that coming, and warns her this info could screw over the Liu family. Elitir says she cares more about the sovereignty than the election. If her sisters are out to wreck it, she'll stop them, but when the time comes, she might not be able to do what's right because of her feelings. The masked lord asks if she wants him to be the judge, and she says yes. He agrees to dig up the truth and tells her to leave it all to him. Alice takes a bus to the independent nation, her first trip without Rin. Suddenly, the bus jerks and stops dead. Alice blacks out for a sec, then wakes up and checks what's going on. She hops off and spots huge footprints and the stink of machine oil. Whatever it is, it's not a basilisk can, things are looking bad. Ichika moves his crew to a new hotel. Mizmis grumbles about his call, saying he's being way too paranoid switching up their spot. Ichika fibs, claiming he's just trying to save cash. Inside, he's thinking if they stay, something bad might go down again, and he doesn't want to drag the whole team into it. Nini helps Mizmis fix her astral crest disguise. Mizmis brings up how they gotta deal with the crest, but Jin shuts her down. They've already hit a dead end brainstorming, so she should just chill. He suggests hitting up the general store for sovereignty-made gear. Nene asks if it's what she's thinking, and Jin confirms it's like the sticker Noro used to hide her astral crest, sovereignty tech. They roll up to the new place, and Ichika tells him to head in while he swaps their money. Jin offers to take his backpack, but Ichika side-eyes him as he walks off. Ichika scans the area, hoping to dodge Sisbell, but she pops up out of nowhere. He's shook, asking what kind of magic trick she pulled. They dip to a quiet spot, and he's like, "We just decided to switch hotels this morning, how'd you beat us here?" Sisbell explains her astral spirit lets her replay past events, so she saw him book the room. Ichika calls her out. Should you, an Imperial soldier, be leaking intel like this? She says she's just keeping it real with him. Then Sisbell drops the bomb she's the Sovereignty Queen's daughter. Ichika's mind blows when he realizes she's Alice's sister. He's like, "Why is the Queen's kid after me?" She explains some founder descendants gunning for the Queen, not just the sovereignty, but something way worse. If the queen dies, all-out war with the empire kicks off, and both nations go down. Ichika asks if they're after her too, and she nods. Her astral spirit tipped her off, but she's got no clue who's behind it, so she trusts no one. She asks if he's down to stop Doomsday, and he's all in. Sisbell wants him as her protector to shut this mess down. Meanwhile, Alice hits the neutral nation, hunting for Sisbell's hotel. Out of nowhere, Schwartz, Sisbell's butler, calls her name. He's been searching for Sisbell, who dipped earlier for important business. Alice is stunned Sisbell's gone. Back with Ichika, he tells Sisbell he wants to stop the war but can't roll with her. He's not just aiming to prevent bloodshed, he wants peace talks to end the century-long feud. Sisbell laughs it off. The sovereignty would never forgive the empire. Ichika says it's his dream and someone close to her shares it. He's about to drop Alice when bam, the masked lord and his mages appear. The masked lord calls her a traitor for chatting up an imperial soldier, waving around a recorder as proof. Sisbell sees through it. The Zoas don't care about truth, just election leverage. She bolts, but he orders his mages after her. Ichika blocks him, trading words with the masked lord, who smugly says, checkmate. Then boom, the ground shakes as a giant machine cuts Sisbell off. Ichika recognizes it, Empire tech. Ichika questions why the Emperor's droid soldier is in the independent nation. The masked lord tells his mages to grab Sisbell, guest or not, and Ichika tries to stop them, but the masked lord steps in and attacks. Ichika dodges, and the masked lord taunts him, saying Sisbell can't run, and he can't survive alone. Ichika fires back, asking if he really thinks Sisbell, a princess, would talk to an imperial soldier without a good reason. The masked lord shuts him down, saying her reasons don't matter, just talking to someone like him is a crime big enough to get her dethroned. Then bang! A gunshot rings out. Jin tells the masked lord to cut the noise, joking that disturbing the peace at night is a crime. Ichika spots Jin, who shrugs and says he was checking on him but got sidetracked by some thugs. Miss recognizes the masked lord as the guy who shoved her into the vortex, and he greets her with a mocking wave. Nene notices the droid soldier and wonders why the Emperor's experimental weapon is here. The machine starts scanning for astral energy and locks onto Miss's power. It's supposed to target the pureblood, priority 1, but the mages distract it. The masked lord yells at them to back off, but the machine charges anyway. Sisbell tries to bolt, but the machine goes after her. The masked lord smirks more unexpected guests, but that just helps his plan. He moves to act, but Jin takes a shot to stop him. The masked lord snaps that they're here to arrest the sovereignty's criminal, and can't figure out why imperial soldiers are protecting her. Jin growls that he doesn't care, he's just here to beat the guy who tossed their captain into the vortex. The masked lord orders his mages to attack, and they blast astral fire and ice at the group. Ichika dashes to the machine, slashing through its attack to save Sisbell. Nini shouts for him to buy time so she can stop it from sending its data. Ichika fights the machine hard, and Sisbell demands to know why he's helping her after saying he couldn't be her ally. He admits there's more to it, but won't let the machine or the masked lord take her. Ichika yells for Nini, who's ready. She fires a piercing shot, and boom, the machine explodes. Miss and Jin skid to a stop, and she asks if Neni did that. Jin confirms and says they need to move, but the masked lord appears behind him, smirking, "Oh, you're not going anywhere." They clash, and the masked lord stabs Jin's hand, making him drop his rifle. Jin pulls a pistol with his left and fires, but the shot only destroys the evidence for Sisbell's arrest. The masked lord dumps a barrel of gasoline, declaring he'll do what their founder did, a century agaturn the empire into a sea of fire. He orders his mages to light it up, but Miss's astral wind blows them back. The masked lord realizes she got her power from the vortex and calls her a fascinating research subject. He moves toward her, but Jin angrily blasts his mask off for the creepy comment. The masked lord decides it's not worth it and bails. Nini notices something's off the machine, shuts down its main power, and switches to a backup, glowing with intense light. Ichika comments that the object isn't like anything he's seen before, and Nene says the light's way too intense. She points out it's not from electricity or fuel, and Sisbell chimes in that it's astral energy's light. Ichika tells Nene to take cover, and boom, the machine blasts out a massive wave of astral energy, causing a wildfire explosion. Miss and Jin feel the shockwave and realize it's coming from Ichika's location. The machine reloads and gears up for another attack. Nini tries her piercing shot, but the machine just sucks it up. Ichika orders Nene to regroup with Jin and evacuate nearby civilians, cause if this fire spreads, it'll be a total disaster. Nene bolts while Ichika charges the machine, and Sisbell backs him up by replaying a sandstorm video to block its view. On Sisbell's cue, Ichika strikes, and the machine shuts down. Out of nowhere, the machine spits out its core, and whoa, Catalyst Beast appears, shocking Ichika. The beast swallows Sisbell whole, leaving Ichika baffled. He throws everything at it, but nothing works. He grits his teeth, swearing this isn't over. Then, surprise Alice shows up and attacks the beast. She demands it release her sister, and they both rush in, but the beast neutralizes their powers. Alice IDs it as an astral spirit, and Ichika wonders what the Emperor's playing at with this weapon. The beast spouts some alien language, and Alice says it's the astral spirit's tongue. She tells Ichika they've still got unfinished business, but right now, they gotta team up to stop this thing from wreaking havoc. Ichika agrees, and they combine their strength to block its attacks and finally take it down. The beast vanishes, leaving Sisbell behind in an orb. The Great Apostles report they've lost the object's signal, and need to keep an eye on Ichika, the Black Steel successor. They decide to move to the next phase. Alice and Ichika stand over Sisbell, both thanking each other at the same time. Alice awkwardly admits she doesn't want to fight with Ichika but against him. Sisbell wakes up and calls out to her, asking if Alice knows Ichika cause she's been curious. She presses about their connection, but Alice plays dumb. Ichika follows suit, denying he knows her too. Sisbell concludes they're strangers, then grabs Ichika's arm, declaring him the perfect knight for her as Queen Nebulous. Alice stammers, demanding to know what Ichika's deal is, but his squad calls for him. He dashes off to meet them, leaving the sisters behind. Seeing his team safe, he grins, proud. Ryo reports the object's defeat and gives Ichika props for a job well done. Nameless asks about the Emperor, and she says he's stepped out for a bit, probably having fun. She adds it won't be long before they uncover Salinger's deal. Speaking of, Salinger stands by a tree, staring at his crest, muttering he's bored with this world but Ichika's got his attention. He spots a shadow behind the tree, and asks who's there. Turns out it's the Emperor, and Salinger greets him eagerly. The Emperor smirks, saying he's got something fun for him. Meanwhile, the masked lord rolls up to his mansion, and kissing welcomes him. He tells her it's time to prep for the election perfect timing. The queen summons Elitaire and accuses her of leaking Sisbell's location. She even questions if she's the real Elitaire, who just smirks back. Outside the palace, Rin calls for Alice.